The room smelled of old wood and kerosene. Amara stood at the threshold, trembling, her worn yellow dress clinging to her thin frame. Behind her, the rusty gate slammed shut. The sound echoed like a prison door closing. She was alone now, alone with him. The blind beggar sat motionless on a frayed mat in the corner. His face was turned toward the window, though she knew he could see nothing. His clothes were tattered, his feet bare and cracked. This was her husband now, a man she'd met only twice, a man the village called cursed. Amara's throat tightened. She wanted to scream, she wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. No one would take her back, not after what they'd done to her. Let's see what happened next. I comment where you are watching from and the time you are seeing this video below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Amara had been alone since she was 9 years old. Her parents died in a fire that consumed their small hut on the edge of the village. The flames took everything: her mother's laughter, her father's strong hands, the smell of her grandmother's soup. She had nothing left but ash and memory. Her uncle, Madhu, took her in. But it wasn't kindness, it was obligation, and he made sure she knew it every single day. "You eat my food, you sleep under my roof, you owe me your life," he would say, his voice cold and sharp. His wife, Aunt Nkem, was worse. She treated Amara like a servant, not a niece. Amara woke before dawn to fetch water. She scrubbed floors until her knees bled. She cooked, cleaned, and washed clothes until her hands were raw. And still, it was never enough. When she turned 16, things got worse. Aunt Nkem began to whisper. The neighbors began to stare. Amara's body had changed. She was no longer a child. And in the eyes of her uncle's household, that made her dangerous. "She's getting too comfortable," Aunt Nkem hissed one night. "She walks around like she owns the place. People will think we're raising her like our own daughter. We need to get rid of her." Madhu didn't argue. He simply nodded. Amara first saw him at the market. He sat by the road, a wooden bowl in his lap, his eyes covered by a dirty strip of cloth. People passed him without looking. Some spat near his feet. Children threw stones and laughed. But Amara stopped. She had only 3 naira left from selling firewood. It wasn't much. But she dropped it into his bowl anyway. The beggar's head tilted slightly. He said nothing. But his lips moved, as if tasting the air. Then he whispered, "Thank you." His voice was soft, calm. It didn't match the filth on his clothes or the hollow look of his frame. For a moment, Amara felt something strange, something like recognition. But she shook it off and walked away. She didn't know that her uncle had been watching from across the road. She didn't know that this single act of kindness would seal her fate. 2 weeks later, Aunt Nkem called her into the sitting room. Uncle Madhu sat in his chair, arms crossed, eyes hard. A stranger stood beside him, a short man with oily skin and a crooked smile. He looked at Amara like she was meat. "This is Mr. Okafor," Madhu said. "He's interested in you." Amara's stomach turned. "Interested?" "For marriage," Aunt Nkem said quickly, her tone too sweet. "He's a businessman. He'll take care of you. You should be grateful." But Amara wasn't stupid. She'd heard the stories. Girls like her, orphans, nobodies, were sold off to men who wanted cheap labor or worse. She shook her head. "I don't want to marry him." The room went silent. Then Madhu stood. He walked toward her slowly, his face twisting with rage. "You don't want," he repeated. "You think you have a choice?" "I'm still young. I want to finish school. I want to—" The slap came fast and brutal. Amara's head snapped to the side. Her cheek burned. Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "You will do as I say," Madhu growled, "or you will leave this house tonight with nothing." But Amara refused, and so she was thrown out. For 3 days, Amara slept under a bridge. She begged for food. She drank from the river. Her body grew weak. Her hope faded. On the 4th day, she saw him again, the blind beggar. He was sitting in the same spot, his bowl empty. She sat beside him, not to beg, just to rest, just to feel less alone. They didn't speak much, but over the next few days, she began to help him. She guided him across busy roads. She shared the little food she scrounged. He never asked why. He simply accepted her presence with quiet gratitude. Then the rumors started. People saw them together. They whispered. They pointed. The orphan girl and the blind beggar. How shameful. How disgusting. Word reached Madhu, and he saw an opportunity. He came to the bridge one evening with 2 other men. "You've embarrassed this family for the last time," he said.
Everyone knows you're involved with that beggar, so you'll marry him. It's the only way to clean up this mess." Amara's heart stopped. "What? No, I'm not. He's just—" "I don't care," Madhu interrupted. "You marry him, or I make sure every door in this village is closed to you. You'll starve. You'll rot. You'll die in the gutter where you belong." His words were stones. They crushed her chest. She looked at the blind beggar who sat in silence, his face unreadable. Did he even know what was happening? But she had no choice, no strength, no fight left. So she agreed. There was no ceremony, no family, no celebration, just a piece of paper signed in a dusty office, witnessed by a bored clerk who didn't even look up. Madhu paid the fee and left without a word. Aunt Nkem didn't come at all. The beggar, whose name she learned
was Chidi, said nothing. He simply took her hand and led her away. His grip was firm, steady. It confused her. How could a blind man walk with such confidence? They walked through winding streets she didn't recognize. The sun was setting. Shadows stretched long and dark. Amara's heart pounded. Where was he taking her? What kind of life awaited her now? Finally, they stopped in front of a small house. It was hidden behind tall weeds and crumbling walls. The gate was rusted. The roof sagged. It looked abandoned. Chidi pushed the gate open. "This is home," he said quietly. Amara stepped inside, her stomach twisting. This was it. This was her life now, a blind beggar's wife in a forgotten house at the edge of nowhere. But then Chidi locked the gate behind them. And something changed. Inside, the house was dark. There was no electricity. A single candle flickered on a low table. The walls were bare. The floor was dirt. Amara stood in the center of the room, unsure of what to do. Chidi moved to the corner and sat down on the mat. He removed the cloth from his eyes. Amara gasped. His eyes, though clouded and pale, were open, and they were looking directly at her. "You're not blind," she whispered. Chidi didn't answer right away. He simply stared at her, his expression unreadable. Then he said, "I see enough." Her mind raced. "You've been pretending?" "Yes." "Why?" He stood slowly, his movements deliberate. "Because people ignore beggars. They don't ask questions, they don't look too closely. It's the perfect disguise." "Disguise for what?" Her voice shook. Chidi walked to the wall and pressed his hand against a wooden panel. It slid open with a soft click, and behind it was a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. Amara's breath caught. "What is that?" "Come," he said. I'll show you. Every instinct told her to run, but curiosity and something deeper pulled her forward. She followed him down the stairs. The air grew cooler. The walls were stone. And then, at the bottom, Chidi lit a lamp. The room that appeared before her made her knees buckle. It wasn't a basement. It was a vault. Shelves lined the walls, stacked with books, files, and wooden crates. In the center sat a large desk covered in maps, photographs, and documents. There were computers, old but functional, and a radio transmitter. The air smelled of paper and metal. Amara's voice came out in a whisper. "What is this place?" Chidi set the lamp down. "This is where I work." "Work? You're a beggar." "No," he said firmly. I'm a journalist." She blinked. "A what?" "I investigate corruption, fraud, land theft, politicians who steal from the poor. I've been gathering evidence for 3 years." He gestured to the files. "Everything in this room is proof. Names, transactions, crimes." Amara's head spun. "But why pretend to be blind? Why live like this?" "Because the people I'm investigating are powerful. They have money, influence, soldiers. If they knew who I was, I'd be dead." He looked at her, his gaze sharp. "The Beggar Act keeps me invisible. No one suspects a blind man on the street." She stared at him, her heart pounding. "Then why did you agree to marry me?" Chidi hesitated. Then he said, "Because I saw you, that day at the market. You gave me money even though you had nothing. You didn't spit on me, you didn't mock me. You saw me as human." He paused. "And when your uncle forced this marriage, I knew you had no choice. I couldn't let you suffer alone." Tears filled Amara's eyes. "So this was pity?" "No," he said softly. "It was respect." Over the next few days, Chidi explained everything. The politicians he was tracking had stolen land from entire villages. They'd burned homes, bribed police, and silenced witnesses. Families were left homeless, children starved, and no one could stop them because they controlled the courts, the media, and the military. But Chidi had proof. Documents, recordings, testimonies. He was building a case. And soon he would release it all to the international press. "When I do," he said, "everything will change, but it will also be dangerous. These men will come for me, for anyone connected to me." Amara felt a chill.
Including me?" He nodded. "Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't want to drag you into this, but now that you're here, you need to know the truth. You need to decide if you want to stay." She looked around the vault, at the files, the evidence, the years of work. This man had sacrificed everything, his identity, his safety, his life, all to fight for people who didn't even know his name. And suddenly she understood. He wasn't just a beggar. He wasn't just a journalist. He was a warrior. "I'll stay," she said. Chidi's eyes softened. "Are you sure?" "I've been powerless my whole life," she said. "Used, ignored, thrown away. But here I can help you. I can be part of something that matters." For the first time, Chidi smiled. It was small, but it was real. 2 weeks later, strange men began appearing near the house.
They wore plain clothes but moved like soldiers. Chidi noticed immediately. "They're watching us," he said. "Someone talked." Amara's blood ran cold. "What do we do?" "We finish the work. Fast." They worked day and night. Amara learned to organize files, scan documents, and encrypt data. Chidi taught her how to operate the radio, how to send coded messages to his contacts abroad. She was no longer just a frightened girl. She was his partner. But the men outside grew bolder. One night they banged on the gate. "Open up!" they shouted. "We know you're in there." Chidi grabbed Amara's hand. "We need to go. Now!" They escaped through a tunnel Chidi had dug beneath the house, a tunnel that led to the river. As they ran through the darkness, Amara heard shouts behind them. Gunshots echoed in the night. Her heart hammered, her lungs burned. Yeah, but she didn't stop. Because for the first time in her life, she wasn't running away from something. She was running toward something, toward justice, toward truth, toward a future she could fight for. They reached a safe house in another town. Chidi sent the files to his contacts. Within days, the story exploded across international news. Politicians were arrested, protests erupted, the stolen land was returned. But the fight wasn't over. The powerful men had allies, and they wanted revenge. Amara and Chidi remained in hiding. They changed locations every few weeks. They lived in fear, but they also lived with purpose. One night, as they sat by candlelight in yet another cramped room, Amara looked at Chidi. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Marrying me?" He shook his head. "No."
You gave me something I didn't expect." "What?" "Hope." She smiled. And for the first time since her parents died, she felt like she belonged. But outside, in the darkness, footsteps approached. A shadow passed by the window. A voice whispered into a phone. The fight was far from over. And this time, they were coming for both of them.